All right, it says we're live for 10 seconds. I guess right when I clicked it. All right, cool. All right, I guess we'll wait like 30 seconds or a minute, see if anybody jumps on and we'll get started. All right, well, I guess once we'll get started. So, hey, hope everyone's doing well. So I guess I'll start off this stream by going basic, uh, uh, some basic proofs, I guess, some fundamental facts about our reality that cannot be denied. So again, so let me see, how can I get started? So when we're talking about inanimate matter cannot move on its own. So that's a fact. If anybody claims that inanimate matter can move on its own, then the burden of proof is on you. But here on Earth, we can all experience that inanimate matter cannot move on its own and requires an external force or an external cause to make matter move. That's reality. So that's measurable, testable, and repeatable. So let me show an example here. Let me screen share. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna make sure the screen's coming out. Okay. Okay. Here we go. All right. So when we have, we'll use this one. Use this one. So when we have solids, liquids, and gas in a container, and we apply a force, we can see the separation of matter. Again, the reorientation of matter from most dense to less dense relative to the direction of the force. And this is measurable, testable, and repeatable, and can be recreated 100% of the time. When you apply force on a container, again, with solids, liquids, and gas, you're always going to get this displacement of the solid moving towards the back of acceleration and the less dense towards the front of acceleration, in this case being the ping pong ball. So again, why is this important to understand? Because again, when we're talking about free-falling objects and people claiming acceleration, then we need to experience these effects of motion and acceleration. In other words, if people are claiming acceleration, then the displacement of matter within the container that's being accelerated must be there, because again, you're claiming acceleration, and again, in practical reality, we know that acceleration causes displacement of different, again, solids, liquids, and gas. So why is the motion of the Earth important? The motion of the Earth is important when it comes to this topic about the shape of the Earth, is because if we knew the reality, people knew the reality that objects that don't accelerate down in free fall, and it's actually the Earth that's pushing up against you, then the globe Earth cannot exist. In other words, the globe Earth requires that people believe objects accelerate down towards the Earth, because again, if it's the other way around, if it's the Earth moving up to the object, then from a globe Earth perspective, it won't work. Up is relative on a ball, which is every direction away from the center of the ball. So again, the Earth, moving up on a globe Earth model would mean that the globe Earth will have to be expanding, into infinity, which is retarded. So again, the globe Earth requires this belief of downwards acceleration, in order for it to even be taken serious. So, again, how do we know, again, that the globe Earth is nonsense? Again, we do it by falsifying the globe. And again, how do we falsify the globe? Again, we falsify it by falsifying the claim of downwards acceleration. Again, people are claiming, that there's this downwards acceleration in free fall, which again, the globe Earth requires that. So if we can falsify that claim of downwards acceleration, and it's actually the Earth pushing up against you, then by default, we're falsifying the globe Earth model as well. In my opinion, that would be the number one proof, because without gravity being a pulling force on a globe Earth model, they can't even go into the next step, without that requirement, without that belief of downward acceleration. So again, if we could debunk that from the start, then the whole globe Earth model falls apart then and there, and the stationary motionless flat Earth as well, So again, real quick before I get into the videos, when we actually accelerate, let me share my screen again. Okay, when we actually accelerate solids, liquids, and gas in free fall, again, we can see right here that when I'm holding it, the steel ball appears to move down, and the air bubble, again, buoyancy showing you the direction of the force, is being pushed up when I'm holding it right now. As soon as I release it, because again, I am accelerating it with this resistance band here. As soon as I release the container, the buoyancy inverts. So the air bubble reorientates and it's getting pushed down, in the direction of acceleration, which is down in this case. Not only that, the steel ball also reorientates. Not only it goes from appearing to go down, but when I accelerate down, it appears to move up. It actually hits the top of the container. People would say, that it's falling upwards relative, to the reference frame. But we all know that, the container is actually moving towards the steel ball in this case, moving down, accelerating down, again, pushing the air bubble in that direction of acceleration. So when people are claiming acceleration in free fall, we have a problem. Two problems to be exact. Because not only does the air bubble stop in its tracks, it completely turns into a sphere, showing that it's not being pushed in any direction. So again, when it's being pushed up, you can see that it's flattened from the bottom and it's kind of bullet shaped up. And as soon as I release it, it turns into a sphere and it doesn't move up or down. Again, the air bubble is showing that there's no force present in free fall. Not only that, if this whole vessel was accelerating down, this steel ball should be appearing to move up, in the direction of in the opposite direction of acceleration, So, it's decelerating at a faster rate than the container, but again, it will be moving in the opposite direction of the alleged acceleration. That kind of acceleration that can accelerate a container and push the most dense towards the front, that doesn't exist, which is what we'll be observing here. Not only that, the buoyant object stays in the center. So the most dense gets pushed towards the front, and the most buoyant stays towards the center. So again, that's not reality. So again, we falsify the globe Earth by falsifying downwards acceleration, and reality shows that. So we'll check out the chat real quick, and then we'll get into the first video. Well, what's up, Earthship Bear, Imran, Amanda, JC, Mark Gregory. All right, so again, this is not an attack on Eric Dubay or David Weiss. This is simply just going over, a short clip, on an old video on both. Both videos are pretty old. I think a little over a year. So again, we'll just be going over the logic that's being used and what the opinions are, to the rising Earth, right, for lack of a better term. So yeah, again, this is not an attack on anyone, and it's just simply going over the logic that's being used. So, all right, let's share screen. Okay, share.
I had another question for you. Was this whole flat Earth society, how they believe this Earth is rising upwards? I think 9.8 meters per second, accelerating, and that's what accounts for Earth's gravity, right?
Right.
Now, why are there people we know that we respect and look up to saying these kinds of things.
Right.
We're all agreement on this, 90% of, okay, all of a sudden there's this one part that it's totally opposite of one another. And I don't know how I could be okay with them saying this, because there is no proof of the accelerating Earth. In my,
Right.
I haven't seen any.
Again, just like I showed, the proof is the fact that buoyancy shows you the direction of the force or the direction of the push, the direction that the container is moving. So again, when we're holding an object here on Earth, with a buoyant, object inside of it, we're holding a container with a buoyant object inside of it. That object is gonna, get pushed up, However, in free fall, that upwards push completely vanishes, not showing that there isn't a force. So there is proof that the Earth is moving upwards, so.
Any big proofs of it? Have you? I mean,
or even rising. Some of them make the distinction that it doesn't need to be accelerating, it could just be rising. Well, okay, either way, there's no evidence of either of those. So yeah, like you said, there's a few people in the community that have long been respected by myself and others who are now seriously considering, not saying definitely, but very close to a definite spiel that they give about it, saying that it's what they say is like it's the only way that they see that it could work. And to me,
it is the only way. The only mechanism for buoyancy is a push, is motion transfer, of something pushing something else to make it move. So it's a chain reaction of motion. That is the only cause for buoyancy, just like I showed in this demonstration. Again, let's go. Let me just show the entire screen. Again, I have a helium balloon here, and I'm recreating buoyancy by simply accelerating the container to the right. What happens is when I accelerate to the right, the van is basically carrying the air with it, so pushing the air with it, so that air is able to push anything that's less dense within it in that same direction that is also being pushed. So again, buoyancy, is the medium that's more dense pushing the less dense medium in the same direction that that the force is being applied. So the air has to be moving in that same direction that is pushing the helium in this case. So when you release a helium balloon here on Earth, it's the same principles. The air is more dense than the helium, so it's able to push it up. But again, the air cannot push the helium in any direction if it's not moving in that direction. Right. So, I mean, come on, like people believe that the air is being pulled down, but it's able to push helium up in the opposite direction. That's claiming, in like right now, that I'm accelerating to the left and the helium is being pushed to the right. That's literally globe Earth and stationary flat Earth claim. Literally, when we're going with the mechanism of buoyancy. Yeah. And again, this is the only mechanism for buoyancy. Now, if you're claiming that buoyancy can be created by some other force other than motion of a container, then the burden of proof is on you.
It should be just demonstrable.
Exactly. So if you don't have a demonstration or an experiment, then you're full of shit, for lack of a better term. So again, the only mechanism for buoyancy is a push motion transfer.
me, I'm like, what? The only way that you can see the gravity, or density and buoyancy, the effects of so-called gravity working on our flat Earth, the only way you can see that working is through a constantly rising Earth, through an...
Yes, that's the only way, demonstrably, that's what reality shows. It's the only way.
Infinite space model, because for there to be a constantly rising Earth, there must be infinite space also for it to rise into. And that was one of the main things that
I would say that's a strong argument because now you're claiming to know what's outside and what's, and to know that that Earth must be moving in a straight line as well, which I don't actually claim that. I don't claim that the Earth is moving in a perfectly straight line. I think it's actually moving in some kind of cycle, and again, that's a different discussion, But again, that is a strawman argument that the Earth will have to be moving through infinite space, and again, that has nothing to do with proving or disproving.
I haven't heard anybody claim that either, so I'm not sure where they. Again, if it's just like flatter society stuff, I'm not sure where else they got that from.
Fair enough. True. Yeah, I don't know where that belief comes in from right away because I don't think about that stuff when I'm looking at the physics.
Yeah, I don't think about what groups
what's
have
outside
said
or
true, that's it.
or what the it's kind of irrelevant, but
Well, I mean, you could think about it, but it's not something you can objectively prove.
exactly, it doesn't prove or disprove
Yeah.
the physics, that show when there's acceleration or force,
Flat earthers are like, there's no evidence that there's infinite space, so you don't want to just claim that thing. So basically, they're making assumptions. We can prove in many ways that we said earlier that the Earth is motionless. It's stationary. We're not moving.
Okay, again, if you're claiming the Earth is stationary and that you prove that the Earth is stationary, then a motionless flat Earth requires a downwards acceleration of free-falling objects, just like the globe Earth. So again, if you're claiming downwards acceleration in free fall, then by default there should be displacement. But reality shows no displacement. It shows no force in free fall, for that matter. So again, if there was acceleration in free fall, just like I showed, when I actually accelerate, we get density and buoyancy invert. Again, when we're holding an object here on Earth, a vessel with solids, liquids, and gas, we see density and buoyancy, with the air bubble being pushed up and the dense object appearing to go down. But when I actually accelerate down, that inverts, So let me just show that again. When I actually accelerate down, here, the one on the left, I actually accelerated down. We see density and buoyancy invert. So we know that there's a force present, and we know that there's acceleration of this vessel in the downwards direction. Because again, the air bubble is being pushed, in that direction of acceleration. Again, and you have the more dense object, the steel ball in this case, appearing to move in the opposite direction of the force. But again, we know that it's not the steel ball moving up towards the vessel, it's the vessel being pushed down, being accelerated down towards the steel ball. And again, that one motion, the vessel, moving towards the steel ball, pushes the water, which then pushes the air bubble in that same direction. Again, these are all effects of motion. These are all effects of acceleration. This would be an accelerometer. Here on the right, in free fall, again, the steel ball, again, it just shows a deceleration. Literally, that's what the steel ball is showing us, a deceleration in the upwards trajectory. Why? Because the air bubble is not being pushed up anymore. So what happens when you remove a force from a constant motion? It starts to decelerate. It starts to lose momentum. So again, that's exactly what we're witnessing here. Now, if you're claiming acceleration, again, we have two problems. The air bubble is not being pushed in the alleged direction of acceleration. It's actually showing that there isn't a force present. And the steel ball is being pushed in a direction of acceleration, which contradicts all of practicality and basic physics. So again, this free fall doesn't show any signs of acceleration, which is required, if you're going to claim a motionless Earth. So I don't know how you proved that the Earth is motionless, but physics shows that it's not, because again, you require physical downwards acceleration, which doesn't exist, which in my opinion, falsifies not only the globe Earth, but the motionless flat Earth as well. So. Okay, let's continue.
And we can't prove that space is infinite and you can infinitely rise. So to try and explain the effects of so-called gravity, you are making two more assumptions that you don't know, that the Earth is constantly rising and that there's infinite space to constantly rise into. And the only reason they're making those assumptions is,
again, nobody's making those assumptions. You know, I'm going with what physics shows me. You know, how matter reacts to external forces. You know, to motion. You know, that's what I'm going based on. So, you know, again, speculating about, you know, infinite space and, you know, what's the Earth, you know, being encompassed by, what's the medium that surrounds the Earth, what's the medium that the Earth is moving through, you know, all of these questions about, you know, outside of the Earth reference frame, you know, are completely irrelevant, in my opinion, when it comes to establishing whether, you know, the object's is moving towards the Earth in free fall or the Earth is moving towards the object. Again, when we're talking about establishing what's happening, talking about outside of what's outside of the Earth, in my opinion, it's no different than when a globe earther denies the physics of water when it's contained in the level, you know, when it's contained in that rest and level. And then they start talking about, well, we have to go to outer space to actually see if it's a globe. You know, I would say that's no different. You know, you're kind of obfuscating from the basic physics that shows, you know, or, you know, in this case, that shows that there is no physical downward acceleration, you know. So, yeah.
because they say that all motion needs a force to be put in motion, like Newton said or something. So they think that there must be some kind of force making.
So, again, inanimate matter cannot move on its own and does require a force. You know, you show me an object, anyone, you know, if you think you can, you know, demonstrate an object being moved without a force other than free fall, because that would be special pleading. Moving an object without a force, you know, good luck with that, because, you know, it's going to be really hard, you know, to, again, you can only probably, you know, demonstrate that through CGI, in my opinion, you know, or it will not be repeatable, in other words, you know. So another thing that I wanted to touch real quick, I guess, since we're talking about force, whether you're a globe earther, a stationary flat earther, or a rising earther, right? When we're connected to the Earth, I would assume that everybody will agree that there is a force present. You know, when we're standing, you know, on Earth or sitting, you know, we can all agree, you know, we have weight, there's a pressure, you know, whether you believe, you know, we're being pressed down or the Earth is pushing up against us, there is a push that we feel, right? I mean, everybody will agree on that. In other words, there is a force present when we're connected to the Earth, right? I mean, would stationary Earthers deny that? I would be interested to know, you know, if there's stationary Earthers that would deny that simple fact that when we're sitting and standing on Earth, we can detect that there is a force present. Again, we can detect that there is a push. Again, whether you believe we're being pulled down or pushed, you know, towards the Earth, or the Earth is pushing up towards us, right? So again, there's a force present when connected to the Earth. In free fall, you know, gravity, in other words, and again, stationary flat earthers will say that there is no force present, right? There's acceleration, but no force present in free fall. So this flow, right, that's pushing us down or accelerating things down, whether it's gravity or electrostatics or whatever, they would say that that's not a force. That is just, you know, the globe says this is bending and warping of space-time. And some, you know, I don't know what exactly a stationary flat earth say. I think electrostatics and, you know, dielectric downwards bias. I've heard some crazy shit like that. Point being is, in free fall, it's not detected, but then once it makes contact with the Earth, then it is detected. So it goes from not being a force that accelerates objects in free fall to then once they make contact with the Earth, then it does turn into a force. So again, this is not a force, but then it does turn into a force, you know, but it also acts like a force when it's not a force, you know, and not only that, it can be a force in in opposite directions. It can move dense objects down, but push lighter, you know, less dense objects up than the medium that surrounds them. So again, it can be a multi-directional force. It's not a force, but acts like a force, but then connected to the Earth, it is a force. So again, if you guys are not seeing all of these mental gymnastics that you're gonna have to believe, and and go through to actually believe that there's a force, again, apparently there's not a force, but it acts like a force in free fall, then, I can't really help you, because again, all of these people that are making these claims don't have any demonstrations, any experiments to recreate their claims. They literally have nothing but word salads and explanations, Again, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but again, it's just literally like globe earthers, like the whole globe earth model. It's not backed by physics. The whole globe earth model is a mathematical concept. It only exists on paper, through mathematics. So again, if you're making claims about this reality, about a downward acceleration, for example, and you have no physics to back it up, no demonstrations or nothing to recreate these claims, then it's no different than the globe earth. It's nonsense at the end of the day. So.
Like a helium balloon go up and a rock go down. What is making it happen? And just saying density and buoyancy isn't enough, they'll say. But every phenomena that exists, whether it is a helium balloon going up through the air or a rock falling down through the air, whether it's an air bubble rising up through the water or water droplet falling down through the air, these motions are all happening of their own accord because
Again, if all of these motions were happening out of their own accord, real quick, let's do the free fall. If all of these motions were happening on their own accord, in other words, if an air bubble, just rises up because less dense than the medium that surrounds it, then this air bubble, whether I'm holding it or not, it should still be moving up. It should still be getting pushed up, regardless whether I'm holding it or not, because apparently it doesn't require an external force. Apparently these motions are on their own accord. Again, I'm not putting words in people's mouth. This is the literal claims that these motions are happening on their own. But if that was the case, again, whether I'm holding it or not, that wouldn't matter. That air bubble should still be moving up. Should still be getting pushed up. What happens here is that obviously me holding it, there's a correlation between me holding this and the air bubble being pushed up. And then when I release it, that motion stops. There's obviously a correlation there. Obviously me holding it is the cause, but what is that cause, right? Well, again, the only cause for buoyancy is a motion transfer of pressure, of push, of something pushing on something else to make it move. So for example, I have an example here, recreating an air bubble, the motion of an air bubble. Again, right here, we can clearly see that the air bubble follows the direction of acceleration. So in this case, I accelerated the air bubble in this direction, down, relative to the bottom. How do you know that? Because the air bubble is being pushed in that direction. So if I was to tell you that, I'm actually accelerating this, up, then you would know I'm full of shit. You would know I'm lying. Why? Because physics doesn't lie, and physics shows that the air bubble is being pushed in the downwards direction. So it's that simple. That's how easily, when it comes to objective reality, to how matter behaves and claims about, about this reality that contradict what we already know, then they're lying. Again, I'm not saying they're deliberately lying. Everybody's deliberately lying, but again, they're lying. They're either lying to themselves or literally just straight up lying. But again, reality doesn't lie. You can make reality change its physics, and make it act different. You can't do that. You can't break physics. You're literally, making, you're claiming you can break physics, and that's just, it's not reality. So then back to the video.
the objects, because of the relationship between the object and the surrounding medium. And that explains everything. You do not need to assume some kind of acceleration or a rising Earth or some kind of motion or an infinite space to explain why helium balloons go up and rocks go down, or any other thing. Everything settles according to the ratio of the object's density versus the medium's density. That's it. you don't need any further.
Again, obviously that's not true. Obviously, in free fall, when there's no force present, that relationship between the medium and the object, that motion vector that's apparently being caused by just the relationship between the two, completely vanishes. Which again, it shouldn't if that was the case, but it does.
Explanation. You don't need some kind of force to force them to do these motions. And if you do introduce a force, now you're introducing new strange phenomena that have to be accounted for. So
no, because when you introduce a force, you're actually introducing the only cause for these effects. Again, just like I showed through these demonstrations, that when I apply a force in a particular direction, we get the separation of solids, liquids, and gas, and they reorientate from most dense to less dense relative to the direction of the force. So introducing a force actually not only explains, but it shows what's actually happening. So it's kind of weird that he says that it makes it more complicated and it makes it more, when it actually does the opposite, in my opinion. Again, based on what physics shows, it's very simple. It's very, 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 very simple principles. What creates buoyancy? It's motion transfer. That simple. So it clears it up, if anything.
So if the helium, so if rocks are falling down because the Earth disk is rising up, then why are helium balloons still rising up with the Earth disk that rises up? So now you just made it even more complicated.
Again, the reason why helium balloons, if the Earth is moving up, why does helium balloons keep moving up with it? Again, because the air is also moving in that same direction, being carried by the Earth. And again, that push from the Earth, that's moving the air, the air is then also is able to push anything that's less dense, like the helium again. Just like in this demonstration here. But here I'm accelerating to the left. So the air is also moving to the left, so then it's able to also push the helium in that same direction. So the front of the van in this case is never going to hit the balloon, because again, there's more dense matter between the van and the helium balloon. Just like here on Earth, if you release a helium balloon, the Earth is never going to make contact with the helium balloon because you have a more dense medium between them, separating them. Again, the air being more dense is pushing the helium in the same direction that the air is also being pushed. So again, that would never happen. So to claim that that doesn't happen, so that debunks the motion of the Earth, I would say that's very faulty reasoning. Very flawed logic. Based on how matter actually behaves.
It makes no sense to explain your first thing. Now you got to have, the helium balloon is rising. It's like the globe argument. Well, yeah, it's rising along with the Earth.
The globe doesn't claim that it's rising up. So that didn't make any sense. It's like the globe argument that it's rising up, and it's like, no, the globe Earth claims downwards acceleration. Again, they don't claim the Earth is pushing up. So again, they have their own retarded explanation of the force pulling air down, but somehow the air is pushing helium up in the opposite direction that the air is moving. So that's retarded as hell. So to claim that it's the same argument like the globe Earth is completely, wrong, I guess.
To the few in the chat claiming that the Earth is stationary, you're going to need more than just the claim to prove that.
Exactly. Again, you could link a video. I mean, I know we can't. It's a live chat, but I guess you can send me an email. I could put my email. So, I'm using my secondary account. Go to my main account. But yeah, I put my email in the chat for anybody that thinks they can prove, they have a demonstration to prove that the Earth is stationary. you can send it to me, and yeah, that way you don't just have words. And maybe you can back up your actual claims, you know. So
Making claims you can't demonstrate are not going to be valid here.
No.
Like, oh, you're right. Let me just stop. Like,
The same rate that the Earth is rising, and so that's why it seems like the helium balloon is going up, and it seems like the rock's going down. So at this point, you're convoluting something that's really simple by claiming that, oh, I need a force. I need to have a force, otherwise I can't believe it. And for that bit, I just have this little quote. I was going to read out a guy named Chris Pierman. He wrote this. He said, if you had a very huge magnet and it pulled a nail across a table, then that nail hit a marble as it was moving. The nail itself would be providing a force, much like objects moving to seek their proper density level with respect to height are now providing a force. If a rising helium balloon hit a mosquito, the rising balloon is the provider of force that causes the mosquito's
again, a helium balloon rising, it doesn't create its own force.
what's giving the helium balloons a rise?
Exactly, that's what's at question. So they, people like that make these claims want to make you believe that inanimate matter can move on its own. It's already coded within matter to do these things, to density and buoyancy. It's already within the matter to sort itself. Basically, it doesn't require an external cause or force. But here, when you're claiming again a helium balloon, rises up and it just does that because it does that, well, I have a demonstration here. Here it is. When I'm holding this helium balloon, we can clearly see, again, when I'm holding it, we can clearly see that the slinky is being stretched. Again, that the helium balloon's being pushed up in this sense, to the top of the box. We can clearly see that the slinky is being stretched when I'm holding it right now. But as soon as I release it, that upwards push, the buoyant force of the helium balloon completely vanishes. And so the spring, the tension of the spring basically, pushes back the helium back down because the slinky just goes back to its original shape. So the only force that's present in free fall in this sense is the tension of the spring. The buoyant force that was present when I was holding it vanishes in free fall. So the helium balloon doesn't have orientation in free fall. The air doesn't know what direction to push it in free fall. The reason why the air is able to push it up when connected to the earth is because there's a motion transfer happening. Again, buoyancy being the effect of motion of a container. In other words, the air cannot push itself, and in free fall, there is no push, So a helium balloon doesn't get pushed up in free fall or by itself.
Did you ever comment your email?
In the secondary, I'll put it again right now.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
trajectory that causes the mosquito's trajectory change in and of itself with respect to the two items. If it helps your thoughts, you can give it a name. It's just another phenomenon like magnetism is a phenomenon. In the magnet example, magnetism causes motion. In the density example, being too dense or not dense enough compared to the surrounding medium is the phenomenon providing.
So again, trying to use magnetism as an example, like trying to relate it to density and buoyancy being causes of themselves is false equivalence. Because first of all, magnetism, it has been demonstrated. Again, nobody knows exactly how magnetism works, but there is demonstrations of that there is a flow, that magnets create, that happens with magnets. There is a flow, and obviously metal objects follow this flow. So there is a cause. There is, I would say, a force that only affects metal. There is some kind of pressure, a push happening, definitely, but it only affects metal. Again, you have a cause and effect. If you was to put an accelerometer to a metal object being accelerated by a magnet, for example, we will see the displacement. We will see the effects of a force. However, if you're claiming density and buoyancy are causes of themselves or forces of themselves, then those forces shouldn't vanish in free fall. That upwards push and the dense object appearing to move down should still be there, especially the buoyant force, So
The force. Since everyone can agree that objects do seek their relative density level, perhaps it's a good idea to call it densitism. Just saying in general, call it or don't call it whatever you want. If you really wanted to get into it, a very sensitive weight scale could be attached.
Call it whatever you want, but it's not a force. And density and buoyancy don't cause themselves. But yeah, you can call it whatever you want. Call it densitism. Call it whatever. But again, at the end of the day, it's not a force and they're not causes of themselves. You know, that's a fact. Yeah.
It's like they're trying to leap over that.
Yeah, obviously they're avoiding the main point.
Yeah.
You know, in other words.
To a ceiling, the face of it down, fill a balloon with X amount of helium. This will become 1 unit, and let it go against the scale. Whatever the scale reads is the measurement of densitism force provided by 1 unit of helium. Then,
which vanishes in free fall, by the way, so it cannot be considered, you know, a universal law, I guess, that buoyancy creates itself, because again, a simple demonstration of free falling in helium in free fall will show that buoyant force, you know, is not there. You know, it requires an external push.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
all other objects can be compared to this standard, thus making all of it a standard itself. We are going to need XX units of densitism force to sink the submarine to a depth of Y, Captain, and so on. I suppose the balloon's material and properties should be recorded as part of the standard, or find an even better way to make a standard of it all. That's an excellent quote by just a commenter in my YouTube section, you know, guy I've talked to on Facebook. Excellent, you know, concept, thought experiment. And it just shows that people claiming that we need some named force before we can claim that density and buoyancy is satisfactory.
Again, we don't need a named force. We just need to understand that inanimate matter cannot move on its own, and that you require some external cause. Again, we don't need to give it a name. We can just have the demonstrations, you know, and let that do the talking. You know, again, us attaching language to reality, it's a useful tool, just, you know, be able to explain ourselves quickly and stuff like that. But again, if you can't back up your claims, you know, or your language without demonstrations, then that's when we know we're going into fantasy. We're going into imagination now, theories, things that can't be proven. You know, again, when we're talking about reality, all of that is irrelevant, you know, especially if we can prove and demonstrate the cause of what we're experiencing here on Earth now, you know, easily. One force, one motion creates all of the effects that we experience here on Earth. It creates, it gives us our weight, creates buoyancy, creates air pressure, pressure gradient, orientation, you know, displacement, basically, you know, the density and buoyancy motion vectors, you know, all of that from one force, you know, which is the Earth's push, you know. So, yeah, something to know.
Satisfactory enough for to account for the so-called effects of gravity. Okay, densitism. You know, like we just said, just because we haven't created a term and made a standard for it doesn't mean that this force is non-existent. We just haven't standardized it yet. And if we did, it would be more valid than gravity that people think is the, you know, gold standard for things now. So yeah, I just wanted to read that to show that everything is already explained perfectly through the natural physics of density and buoyancy, and no other assumptions need to be made.
Again, it's like he doesn't want people to like research this topic. It's kind of like reminds me of that movie, right? The Truman Show, when the little kid wants to explore, and they tell him like, oh, everything's already been explored, so you're too late, you know. So, you know, in other words, don't waste your time. You know, everything's already explained, everything's been explored.
Again, so, explanations aren't proof of anything. It's like he wants to dismiss demonstrable physics for explanations.
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
I mean, it can sway, you know, the gullible and, you know, followers, for lack of a better term, but it doesn't prove it. Yeah.
It doesn't prove anything. No, yeah. So again, it literally just gives me those kind of vibes that density and buoyancy, they create themselves. Everything's already sorted out. You don't need to ask any more questions. Everything's been figured out about how this reality works and functions. It's all programmed into the matter somehow. The matter knows what
It
to do.
all sorts itself.
Exactly.
It's its own form of AI.
Exactly. It would have to be like, it has intelligence, it knows how to reorientate itself.
You can't see it happening. You can't measure it happening. You can't, observe it happening, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
It's happening on its own, supposedly. So
You know what I mean? See, I mean, like detected and free fall and all that.
oh yeah, that separation of matter.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
clarifying.
Obviously.
Controls.
Like a rising disk Earth or infinite space to account for why objects move.
Right. 100% agreed. Isn't that kind of like asking why is fire hot and why is ice cold? Like,
Again, I would say these are they're not the same because
They're completely different
completely
questions.
different. Yeah, because you're asking philosophical questions now, like why is fire hot? Why am I alive? Why am I? These are questions. They're philosophical questions that can't be answered. So try to compare that to what can actually be demonstrated with physics. To me, it just comes off very disingenuous. Again, I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but it's definitely dishonest. Whether again you're lying to yourself or you're deliberately lying. Again, I don't know. I'm not in these people's heads, so it's definitely very dishonest. So again, there's a philosophical questions have no bearing in demonstrable physics. And what can be recreated, demonstrated. Utilizing the scientific method. So.
why does things fall down and not up, Eric? It's like, well, that's just what it does. We just gave you this answer. Like the
It just does.
But it isn't what it does.
I gave you an explanation already.
Yeah, I gave you an answer.
There, it just does it. Again, nothing personal, but
Again, it reminds me of Globers protecting a lie that isn't theirs. It's not like the stationary flat earthers are protecting another lie that isn't theirs.
yeah.
Right?
Again, most people that believe that the Earth is motion, again, they didn't come up with this idea. They most likely over 90% of people, close to 100, I guess, have been told because reality didn't tell them. They didn't figure this out using common sense. So if you believe the Earth is motionless, most likely somebody told you, or you heard it somewhere, and then you just believe it.
Nothing wrong with being honest though and saying that I was wrong or I misunderstood. Like that's actually honorable.
Yeah, it is. It shows
it's respectable.
Exactly. It is respectable. So I think that a lot of people are scared to come out, yet alone as a flat earther, yet alone as a motionless flat earther. Now that it's wrong again. Yeah. They don't want to be wrong twice, So I get it, but at the same time, reality is not going to change. Yeah. Physics is not going to change for you just to fit your bias. Reality could give a less fuck what you believe. Reality is what it is, and it's not going to change. And it's about accepting, the truth. And when I mean truth, I'm talking about objective truth.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about.
Everyone says they have their own view on the world, and everyone has their own perspective and everything. But there's only one objective reality.
Exactly. How you view it and how it makes you feel and what you believe it is and all that.
Separate.
That's completely separate, and that's subjective. We're talking about objective truth. That's real truth, in my opinion. Yeah, undeniable facts. So that's what we're talking about.
Sun is never going to be cold. An ice cube's never going to be hot. When I drop this bowling ball, it's never going to go up. But why? Here we go with the why again. Like, why does the sun have to be hot? Why are these things falling down? Like, it's real simple. Then somebody did an experiment where they took out all the air out of this chamber and they dropped the feather in the bowling ball. And now that all the air is gone, it fell at the same exact time because there was no air pressure for the feather to push off of.
And the irony is that the only way to have air pressure is for the air to actually be pushed in a particular direction, right? Again, so the fact that there's air pressure, slowing the rate, the deceleration rate of the feather, it shows that, again, he said it, that there's air pressure not allowing the feather to fall at the same rate as the bowling ball, obviously, because it's less dense than the bowling ball significantly. But when you suck the air out, you take the air out of the equation. In other words, the air can no longer push the feather up like it was. Then the bowling ball and feather appear to fall at the same rate because they're actually decelerating at the same rate. Again, a force that can apply very different amounts of force on the feather and the bowling ball to accelerate them at the same rate is retarded, you know. So if anything, that experiment of the bowling ball and the feather falling at the same rate shows that there's no air pushing up on the feather, which, you know, again, the object cannot be accelerating down, you know. So
that's why the feather will go slower. And when they're just like, wow, that's incredible. I'm like, I guess you took the air out of something and it felt, you know, I don't know. They just thought it wasn't that impressive to me. You know?
They just changed the medium. So they turned the medium to.
Falconing, let me see your question. I just asked, give me one thing that falls to the earth or that the earth rises to stop running. What the fuck does your question, what the fuck does that mean? Like, okay, I'm going to read it again. Give me one thing that falls to the earth. Okay, things that are more dense in the air appear to fall down because they're being left behind. So anything that's more dense in the air, that's your answer for that part of the question. You know, an apple.
They appear to fall.
Yeah, they appear to fall down, but they're not moving down. The earth is moving up to meet it. And the air between them is not dense enough to push, you know, like an apple. So the apple appears to go down. That's the second part of that. Or that the earth rises to. The earth rises to more dense mediums, to more dense objects.
Give me one. There's so many.
So I don't know what the hell you're going on about here. It's kind
He
of
said,
weird.
how do they get in the air? What is he talking about?
I don't know. How do they get in the air? What are you talking about? So when I lift this phone, I'm picking it up. So now it's
William's force is putting
mid-air.
it in the air.
So right now it's in midair, you could say, and as soon as I release it, you know, you would claim that there's an acceleration down, but the accelerometer on this phone would not detect it.
Right.
Not only that, there will be no displacement of an air bubble within the medium of water. You know, that would have to be there if you're claiming acceleration. So I don't know what.
Yes, William is the force because he's connected to the earth, which is the initial force pushing everything up.
Yeah. Again, as soon as I release it,
so he's the force, and then he
accelerates.
releases the force. Then it should be accelerating to the ground, which it does not.
Yeah. So yeah.
Per demonstrations, many demonstrations. Where's the one demonstration of objects accelerating to the ground?
Okay, if objects,
Physical measurement of downwards acceleration.
yeah, he's saying he doesn't claim acceleration in free fall. So what do you claim? I mean, if an object is at rest and then it starts to move, that's a change. So that's either an acceleration or a deceleration. You know, that's a change going from stationary to motion. That's a change. You know, you can't claim that it's a constant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either an acceleration or a deceleration because we witness a change in free fall. So if you're not claiming acceleration, so you're claiming a deceleration then?
And it returns to its starting point. Nobody says it has to accelerate. You moved it. Okay, what's your point? Yes, he grabbed it and lifted, and then he released it.
And it goes from stationary to motion. You know, a change. That's either acceleration or deceleration. Those are the only two options. How can you claim a third option without actually being specific?
You watched it return to its place. What you mean? He caught it? It would have.
It didn't just teleport to the ground. You like, I don't want to call you names, but like it didn't just teleport to the ground. It actually traveled through space. You know, visually. So what happened? Did it accelerate or decelerate?
So no proof of rising it. He has no idea what he's talking about. I think he's just defending a guru here.
Yeah, enough of that.
0. So now your medium is 0. So everything falls at the same rate. That's all you've done. You haven't done any weird thing, and it still works in the equations for density and buoyancy, which you can see on my website.
Again, when people are claiming things fall down, it only comes down to those two options. Either accelerates or decelerates. And if you're running away from conceding that it actually accelerates, then you're a coward. Mm-hmm. You're a fucking coward. You're a little fucking bitch. Literally, little fucking bitch.
Again, optics is not proof of it. Alone isn't proof of anything. There needs to be a physical measurement of downwards acceleration, and there isn't any.
Yeah.
It appears to go down, But it's when you actually look for physical measurement, it's not.
Yeah.
There's plenty of demos. There's a whole playlist of demos. There's so many other channels doing demos.
And again, if you're hiding behind this word free fall to actually concede that there's an acceleration from your model, then again, you're a little fucking bitch. So
Cry more. That's only you in the comment section, Falcony. You're the only one crying, throwing your tantrum in the comment section.
Literally.
I've got a paper by an electrical engineer that did all the equations for gravity, but using only density and buoyancy and taking out gravity because it's just a placeholder term that doesn't even need to be in the equations. Everything mathematically already works out without gravity. And like you're saying, this...
Oh, it sounds like everything already mathematically works with gravity, but now he's saying everything already mathematically works without gravity. So it's like no different, like to just make these claims about, you know, that mathematics proves this.
A man-made language. Too.
It's like, again, I go with what physics shows me, not what, you know, some what equations you could come up with. Again, if your equations are not attached to reality, you know, then it's just like saying that Santa Claus exists. You know, that phrase is not attached to reality, so it's bullshit, obviously. So if your mathematics is not attached to reality, then it's no different.
Yeah.
It's just a language. It's just words. It's just letters on a paper.
Yeah.
You know? You know?
This constant why that they ask, it gets to a point where you're like a 2-year-old that just, why, but why, but why? And anyone that's had a 2-year-old knows that there is no end to that type of questioning. And so this is, again,
comparing basic demonstrable physics to, what's the word that I used earlier? So it's philosophical. It goes into philosophy now. You know, obviously, well, why do we exist? And why am I alive? And
those aren't the questions
it's like, that's
that
not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Or we're demonstrating. We're talking about very practical, basic stuff. You know, it's very.
It is elementary.
Yeah,
But not, you know, like, but I don't understand why people think that's like knocking the demonstrations and physical reality down a notch or something. Like, okay, it is basic and you should understand it. So the fact that you don't and you're claiming it's basic,
yeah,
can turn it on yourself right there.
Yeah, again, it's very simple. And again, I've seen a lot of people in the comments. Again, I don't know if they're just normal trolls or if they're trolls on task, but when you're on the comment sections for days and days and days, leaving like 50 comments in one day, like, you know,
pure opinion based or emotional, like it kind of doesn't make sense. You're just showing that you have an obvious bias.
Yeah, it's just you know, it just shows obviously that there is an effort, you know, to try and suppress this information, obviously, to try and influence, you know, new people coming into, you know, by flooding the comments with a bunch of bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but to be honest, the new people are completely get it most of the time. It's I know they like to say that, oh, this is causing a pushback, but in reality, it's the already self-proclaimed stationary earthers that are causing a pushback.
Those are the ones.
They're the ones pushing back.
Yeah. The globe earthers actually get it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense that the globe earth, first of all, can't work without this downwards acceleration or this idea of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Not only to explain objects accelerating in free fall, but obviously the orbits and all the other explanations of the sun, which explains their day and night, you know, and the earth spinning, you know, all this bullshit. So again, it requires this belief of gravity to explain a bunch of different explanations around the globe earth model, the whole heliocentric model. So again, you know, globe earthers understand that. If you could debunk that, then the whole globe earth model is in trouble, you know, and it's evident, you know, when I speak to people in the streets, you know, the students.
Back to this defense mechanism of why, but why would they do it? Oh, but why does gravity work that way? Anytime these people whine with the why, it means that they can just continue asking questions and never accepting your answer, just like a 2-year-old who, yeah, but why do you have to go to work, Daddy? Because I have to make money. But why do you have to make money, Daddy? Because I have to look after you. But why do you have to look after me, Daddy? Because I don't want.
It's funny because he's saying that, but it's the stationary earthers that are coming up with those questions. Well, what's pushing it, and where's it going up into, and what's outside of it, and it has to like
what mediums are moving through.
The irony.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
want you to die. But why do you want me to die, Daddy? Because I love you. But why do you love me, Daddy? I'm starting not to love you with these questions. No, so people were asking me this on the forum, and I said the same thing you said. I said, I would say that is tantamount to asking, why is water wet? Why is ice cold? And why is fire hot?
Again, he's trying to compare philosophical questions that obviously can't be answered to what can actually be demonstrated. He's saying, oh, you can't ask questions about, the effects of acceleration and displacement, when there is acceleration, because we can't know everything.
But just because you don't know why fire's hot doesn't mean you can't prove fire's hot.
Yeah, that's
so there's answers to those. There's a way to answer. It's like, okay, well, I don't know why fire's hot, but can we agree fire's hot? Are you going to burn yourself? Or
that's a good point. Just because, again, we don't know what fire actually is, it doesn't mean we don't know the effects of it.
And we can observe it, we can feel it, we can,
it's part of our reality.
It's part of our physical reality.
Okay.
I don't need to know why it's hot to know that it's hot.
Exactly.
My 3-year-old doesn't need to know why fire's hot to know why it's hot. She knows why does water wet. She knows she knows it's wet regardless of the why. She's not asking those questions.
Yeah. Again, you can ask questions. We can know things. Again, I like to say, just because we can't know everything doesn't mean we can't know anything. Yeah. So there is a lot of things that we can know and can prove to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Again, that's where science comes in. That's where basic elementary physics comes in, because we can know when cause and effect, we can recreate cause and effects. Again, that's the whole point. We're able to recreate, create cars, engine to be able to move a car. Because there's principles that we understand as humans that we can replicate and repeat, and it's always going to happen. This technology didn't just come together with magic. The cell phone that we're using, the computer, the cars that we drive, they don't just come together and work because of magic. No, they come together and work because there's basic principles that we understand and we can repeat, and demonstrate and actually use. We can prove a lot of things, but when it comes to the why or how it came to be or what it actually is,
what's causing the force,
what is matter,
it traveling into.
Exactly. Those are philosophical questions that can't be answered. But just because, again, we can know those answers to those questions, it doesn't mean we can't prove basic stuff here. We can, And again, they're trying to lump both of these ideas together. Again, one idea and one reality, and trying to obfuscate both.
I'd love to have answers to those questions about what's the force and where's it traveling to and all that stuff. But surely we can agree that some things you're going to need to leave the reference frame to figure out.
Yeah, we can't know everything about this reality. And I agree with that, but that doesn't mean, again, we can't prove things.
It doesn't mean now you can dismiss demonstrable physics because you can't know those answers to the other questions. So now I could just dismiss everything else because we don't know those answers.
Yeah. Again, because these philosophical questions can be answered. Now we can't answer any questions about this reality.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like you're really throwing everything out of the out the window just because we don't have answers to these philosophical questions. It doesn't make any sense.
You have to stay objective in these type of topics.
Yeah.
And if that's not your cup of tea, then I don't understand what you're doing inserting yourself in this type of chat if you're not ready to just stay objective.
Exactly. Again, the shape of the Earth question, the globe Earth life, is an objective question because, again, the Earth is physical. Mm-hmm. We stand, we walk on it every day. It has dimensions to it. It has geometry to it. There's mountains and valleys. So again, the convexity of it, if there was there, we should be able to physically measure it also. And not only that, again, the fact that the globe Earth requires physical downward acceleration, that also should be detected, and it's not. So again, reality, shows you left, right, and center that it's impossible for it to be a globe or a stationary flat Earth.
People are so worried about what's out there rather than exploring here. How about you're asking these questions about what's out there when we haven't even explored the full dimensions of this place fully yet. There's so many restrictions. There's so we're basically cattled here, wherever here is, and how can we know what's outside of the room if we don't even know what the room looks like?
We only know what we've been told what's outside of the room, in other words, and shown maps of what's outside of the room, right? And that's how we could go with. Nobody actually has verified any of these.
But again,
maps.
You can't try, and you have to be able to do it yourself.
Yeah, at the end of the day, to prove it to yourself, you have to do it yourself, or experience it yourself, or understand it for yourself.
You can assume a constantly rising Earth. You can assume a constantly rising.
Those are ridiculous questions.
Oh God!
But
You can
they're
assume a
being
constantly
asked.
rising Earth through assumed infinite space to assume an answer to such question, or you can just leave aside.
Again, you don't have to assume infinite space. Again, I personally don't assume the Earth is moving in a straight line through infinite. But again, it's still possible, again, to be able to dismiss what, the creator can and can't do, or limit the creator. I would say that's, that doesn't make any sense. Again, to use that kind of logic to dismiss practical physics is very weak, in my opinion.
Assumption out of it and let it be what it is. And then sorry, scrolling up.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, and then I said, asking questions and never being fully satisfied with the answers is good, but anyone who has spent significant time with a 4-year-old knows that after every single answer given, you can continue to ask why. At no time is there an answer which can put an end to the perpetual question of why. And eventually the kid won't shut up until you give an answer like, because that's just the way it is. And that is not a cop-out. At some point, continually asking why will lead you to an infinite regress of explanations.
Again, I agree that we do get to a point where we can't know, like what gives rise to matter, what is matter, how does it hold together, what's outside the reference frame, what's creating the force that we experience. So again, there is philosophical questions that we don't know the answer to, but that doesn't mean that we can't prove, basic principles here. The fact that we have technology, we're able to use it, proves that we can, so.
Based on other explanations that never lead to any satisfactory conclusion. Because at the ultimate level, the ultimate answer to all these questions is, it is that way because that is how it was created to be.
Thank you.
That literally just sounds like when you ask a religious person, like a Christian, about like, how is it possible, or whatever, well, it's just God. Well, God, right? When you ask them a question that contradicts, their beliefs or whatever, well, it's just God's all powerful. God is just, the way God wanted. It was God's will, right? How many times you hear that? That's God's will. And it's like, that just sounds religious, in my opinion, to say, well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it was created. Acceleration and free fall defies physics, but that's just the way it was created. Like, wow, unicorn farts is the cause for the downwards acceleration, and that's just the way it was created. Don't ask me for proof. Don't ask why, because asking why, accept it. That's just the way it was created.
How do you become a flat earther and not just accept a globe because that's the way it was created?
Right. Yeah, it looks level, is measure, the surface never is, the surface of water is always level when contained at rest, but, just accept that it is a globe.
You should have just accept all that, whatever answers the education is giving him.
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. It's a globe. Oh, you don't feel like you're spinning? That's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
How did he make it here?
Fair enough. I'm using that logic, I guess. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
We're not the creator. We're not the intelligent designer. Okay? We can't understand everything. There's just no possible
infinite regress of explanations based on other explanations that never lead to any satisfactory conclusion. Because at the ultimate level, the ultimate answer to all these questions is, it is that way because that is how it was created to be.
Thank you. We're not the creator. We're not the intelligent designer. Okay? We can't understand everything. There's just no possible physical way. You're a human. You're just a human. We're not something. You can't create a human. So how could you create the sun? How could you do this? You can't. So I don't know why they're like that. I mean,
you say we can't create a human.
We can't create the sun. I mean, what does that have to do with with the topic at hand, with the shape of the earth or the motionless earth or the upward rising, like what does that have to do? Yeah, we can't create, a human from without a female.
I was gonna say we've created. I mean, how are we here if we can't create humans?
I guess our bodies do create humans, right? But
I got two of them.
But I guess we can't create the sun, right? I guess that's true. Okay, what now? I agree with you. We can't create the sun. I don't get what that has to do with anything. But okay, we can't create.
Odd statements.
Yeah.
Like you said before, you're asking why all the time. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest. It really is. These are like 30-year-old grown men I'm talking to over here. Why? Like, I'm glad to be on this side. I don't want to be on the fantasy world over here. It's a religion,
The irony. You are living in a fantasy world if you believe the Earth is stationary.
I don't want to be on the side of truth. I want to be on the side of delusion.
Right. I think that's where the conversation ended, at least with the motion of the Earth. So I'll just play it a little bit, and if it goes off topic, we'll just end it here for this clip, and then we'll check the comments.
The whole NASA and the globe spinning testicle, plate spheroid, pear-shaped, spherical, round shaped planet they live on. I don't want to be a part of that. I want reality. I want my facts. This is it. Okay. If you don't want to be a part of that, then I guess we have to have a line between us.
All right, I think that's pretty much it.
So his mind's made up. He doesn't want it to be anything else. It's this, and that's it. It's flat Earth for him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Flat stationary.
Flat stationary. All right, so let's stop.
Said more than a mouthful with that statement alone.
I'm gonna check the comments now. I guess I'll go over some comments, and then
I was trying to read some, but
yeah. I'm gonna just go back a little bit and see if there's any questions or comments that I should highlight. And let me see. Falconing, you still didn't name one thing that falls to the earth without a force making it rise first. I agree. Yeah, you can make an object rise without a force. Okay, I agree with that. When I lift an object, I apply a force to lift it. But then again, you're claiming that it's at rest, motionless when I'm holding it. And when I release it, there's a change happening.
I mean,
so there's an acceleration.
The Earth's motion upwards, the air pushes a helium balloon up.
Again, that's very basic stuff. Okay, let me see.
That's such a good question.
Yeah, we'll go over the David Weiss clip in a bit. Let me just go over some of these, see if there's any questions here. Other than falconing, because he's just kind of trolling now.
There might have been some higher up. I'm not sure there were questions.
All right. All right, we'll just move on to the second clip now, I guess. Nothing too much in the comments. Let's go to the entire screen. All right, so actually here, let me put the link to the original video for people that want to check it out. And I'm also going to put the link to this other one, the David Weiss conversation. It was with Nachiqueta on his channel. So here, I'll put it in the chat as well for people that want to check it out later. All right, we'll go to the David Weiss conversation now.
Okay. Yeah. So what about gravity? How would you explain gravity? Are objects falling to the ground, or
in the sky, and things are going in different directions? Are you looking through water? Is it reversed? What are we seeing? Maybe it's something that we'll never understand, but you can easily
I don't know why the video keeps rewinding, but hopefully it doesn't happen again.
prove this isn't a 93 million mile away moon right there. It's something else.
okay? Yeah. So what about gravity? How would you explain gravity? Are objects falling to the ground, or is the ground meeting up to the object? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, in my opinion, the Earth does not move at all, and
well, I'm glad he said in his opinion.
Right off the bat. Well, in my opinion. Well.
Yeah. So at least that's some honesty there, right? So.
And things fall because of buoyancy and density, right? Buoyancy and density, right? Flat Earthers.
So again, just like Eric Dubay claimed that, again, it's just the relationship between the medium and the object, the object and the medium that surrounds it, apparently that dictates, orientation and causes the displacement, so, but again, we know that in free fall, that's not the case, so.
Are crazy because, everything we say down is down, but ballers say everything goes to the center, right? Which is stupid. And if you look at the three body problem, the gravitational model for planets makes no sense because it would never be a repeating perfect pattern. It's totally impossible, according to their model. I mean, we have all these planetary alignments. How come things don't pull on each other, right? This is how I think it works. The sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode. The salt water carries a current. The land is the salt bridge. And we live in this electrical system. The Earth has a neutral or negative charge, and anything above it is positively charged. And it says down is this way. It's a very weak force. And then
so again, just like again, I'm not calling anybody out. Again, to the globe earthers claim gravity is a very weak force. So that's literally what he's claiming now, that it's electrostatic, that's being caused by the sun and moon apparently in the salt water. Apparently that is also a very weak force. And the reason why they say that it's a very weak force is because, again, and there is no force detected in free fall. So again, they say that it's a very weak force because they're still claiming that it is a force because, again, we're seeing the motion, but it's not being detected by the matter because it's very weak. So in other words, they say that, at least globe earthers say that because they know that that force is not detected in free fall. So that's why they say it's because it's very weak. That's the explanation that they would use, but it's there, it's still a force, but no different.
Buoyancy and density do everything else, right? Now, people don't like this answer. Some of my critics, which I couldn't give a crap. But if I drop this, why doesn't it go that way or that way or that way, right? And the answer is because there's an electrostatic flow downwards.
Okay, so now that's a claim of a cause of something pushing out something else, aka he's claiming an acceleration now of a free-falling object by this electric current. So he's literally claiming, let's go back to the demonstrations. Again, he's literally claiming that this vessel here it's accelerating in free fall when I release it, even though the air bubble indicates that there is no force present and it's not being pushed.
Mhm.
Not only that, the steel ball, again, it's moving in the opposite direction it should be. Because when I actually accelerate down, not only does the air bubble get pushed in the direction of acceleration, but we get the inversion of density and buoyancy, and the steel ball appears to move up. You know, we know that there's a force present because we get the reorientation of matter, which doesn't happen in free fall. Which again, if you're claiming acceleration, then you're gonna need these effects to be there to show that there is acceleration. You can't have acceleration without the displacement of the air bubble. You know, 100% of the time when I accelerate a container with an air bubble, the air bubble is going to get pushed in the direction of acceleration 100% of the time. Again, this is what happens in reality. So again, when you're holding a vessel, the air bubble is being pushed up relative to you, showing you that the force is up. And in free fall, that push vanishes. The air bubble no longer gets pushed up. You know.
Testable, provable, right? And it could be manipulated. And everyone's seen me with the temporal triangle and the balloons, and we can make things go up or down depending on what charge we put into them, right? But if I snap my fingers right now and the entire Earth disappeared, if I let this go, which way would it go? How would it know which way is down? So the Earth, in my opinion, testable, has this electric flow to it.
Again, something that's in free fall doesn't know what way is down because it doesn't have orientation because there's no force present. In order to have orientation and to know what up and down is, then you need a force, you need something pushing up against you to give you that orientation. So something that's in free fall, it technically doesn't know what direction is up, down, left, or right. So what's happening is just starting to lose momentum from the constant, from the orientation that it had, from the force that it had. So now what happens is as it starts to lose that momentum, the Earth simply just comes up to meet it. You know, that's what's happening in free fall. So the object is not moving down. Again, it doesn't know where to go at it.
No,
it's the Earth that's coming up to meet it again and giving it that orientation again that it had, you know, before it was released into free fall. You know, so again, matter doesn't know, you know, what direction to go just because, you know.
Right. And we can manipulate that. Like when lightning strikes, things go flying. Is that because it's killing gravity for a second? Or is it reversing the polarity of the ground for a split second very strongly and sending things flying in the air? So that's my opinion on gravity. Right? Buoyancy and density sort everything else
but
out.
Okay, so everything is kind of explainable through buoyancy and density, and some people call it the incoherent dielectric acceleration. Do you believe that is the case?
That sounds pretty good to me. But you know, we can manipulate gravity, right? We can change it. We can make things go up and down, right? So if we're able to do that,
again, what he's going to show right here is basically a parlor trick, and I'm going to explain why. Because when we're talking about the reorientation of matter, like changing the vector, for example, of solids, liquids, and gas, what we're talking about is this is what we're talking about. The reorientation of matter, again, having a solid, liquid, and a gas in a container, and reorientating the helium balloon in one direction and the apple in the opposite direction. Again, we're getting a motion vector, a new motion vector here, where the most dense appears to move in one direction and the less dense in the opposite direction. You know, here's another example. Again, these, let's put it here. again, this is what happens, when we actually apply a force. We get the separation of matter. This happens 100% of the time. If you're claiming acceleration in free fall without these effects of motion, then you're basically full of shit at the end of the day. Nothing personal.
That's something that we can, manipulate. So I'll just show real quick. You've seen this, right? We got the balloons here, and this thing is just neutrally floating above the ground a couple of inches. And then we add a positive charge to it. And as we add the positive charge, so we're changing the variable, and it goes down. Positive charge, it goes down.
Okay, not only is this this cable is literally physically connected to this to demonstrate this, because obviously things in free fall and here on Earth, we're not tethered by a cable. So off the bat, this is already kind of funny. But not only that, again, when we're talking about the displacement, we're talking about solids, liquids, and gas. Again, having a container with a solid, a liquid, and a gas, and displacing it or changing the vector without actually moving the container. That's what the demonstration should be. Is reorientating the density and buoyancy vector without accelerating the container. Not just levitating an object. That's just a parlor trick.
Falconing, nothing proves rising Earth. I'm still waiting. I mean, if you don't understand what's being said or the demonstration, that's fine. If you choose to dismiss and just believe otherwise, that's fine. It's nobody's job here to help you understand it. You have to discern and understand for yourself, or else you're just going to be following whatever leader you choose to follow, like whatever sounds the best to you, but that's not reality.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I just want to show how you can use air, for example. I'll play this clip to make objects levitate. That doesn't mean that air is a cause for the downwards acceleration. So I'll show how people can levitate objects using air pressure, or in other words, air.
Grab your screwdriver, no strings attached, tilt it towards you, put the air source underneath. Now what's happening is the end of the screwdriver is curved, and the air is flowing past that curve really fast, which creates a low pressure. And that low pressure sucks the screwdriver upwards and keeps it floating. And the cool thing is we could do this with a bunch of other tools, pretty much anything with a curved surface. It doesn't just have to be a screwdriver. So we have this mirror here. Or one of these metal punches.
All right, so you guys get the point. What the hell happened here?
Falconing, this is common sense. Apparently not so common.
So obviously, just because we can levitate objects using air, that doesn't mean air is the cause for the density and buoyancy we experience here on Earth, right? Again, air requires an external force also. Air cannot push itself to be able to push, helium balloons in a particular direction, So here's this one using levitation, using sound, in other words, for levitation is acoustic levitation. So again, we can levitate objects, or matter using sound. Does that mean sound is the cause for the downwards acceleration without displacement? Of course not, So, again, just to prove the point. Oh, I was gonna say. Oh, fudge. Let me go back to it.
Don't
I was gonna
tell
say.
me.
I was
Don't
gonna
tell
say
me.
Globers are gonna be all over this. Look, Globe Earth proof right here. The Globe Earth. Look at this. You got your little space ball right here.
No, but look at the center, man. No, it's flat.
This is gonna be Globe Earth proof now.
It's so silly.
So again, just because we can levitate objects, or in this case water too, with sound, it doesn't mean sound is a cause for the downwards acceleration without displacement. It doesn't mean that that's what's causing it now. So again, when Weiss is showing this cable being attached to the helium balloon and it changes, from up and down, again, that's just a part of the trick. You're not recreating density and buoyancy. You're just, again, just levitating and
Playing with air.
Yeah, playing with air, in other words. Again, it doesn't prove the downwards acceleration without displacement, which is what's being questioned. So
I could blow on a piece of paper too.
yeah, air is not the cause.
Did we change gravity or did we change this electrical charge? We discharge it and it goes up, right? Discharge, it goes up. And this one, negative charge, it goes up. Turn it off, it goes down. Negative charge again.
Again, that's foil. Again, again, you're creating something in between the object and this here. Again, what does that have to do with physical downwards acceleration without displacement? Again, you're showing one piece of matter here being levitated. It's like me showing a screwdriver being levitated by air. Like, what are you trying to prove here? That this is your proof of acceleration of solids, liquids, and gas without displacement? Because that's what's happening in free fall. So I don't know what this is. Again, it's basically a part of the trick, in my opinion. Again, but just my opinion, obviously.
Again, it goes up. Keep the charge in there, it stays up, right? So what are we doing? We're manipulating the electric charge. This is MIT's silent drone, right? No moving parts. It's flying. Are we making it anti-gravity, or are we making it have a different attraction to the Earth, a repulsion of the Earth from the Earth, right? So this thing is flying because of its electrostatic potential. We just did that. Now go in your model, and not yours, but the globe model. Show me how you manipulate gravity. Show me how you prove that. And here's the thing: the globalists say that it's 10 to the electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power more stronger than gravity. That's a number you can't even fathom, right? So if the weak electrical force is making things go down, and gravity is 10 to the 36 less powerful, that means gravity is zero, right? 10 to the 36 less than that force is zero. There you go. There's my thoughts on gravity.
Okay, are you there?
Go ahead.
Can I share? Yeah. Can I share a video with you? It's only about a minute and a half long, and then I want to get your thoughts on what you think is going on there, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go ahead.
A slinky will only stretch when there is a force being applied. You can test this for yourself. You cannot stretch the slinky without a force. This is something important to note, as it will make the following experiment much easier to understand. When we have a bottle with water and it's connected to the earth, we can experience weight and buoyancy, which are effects of a force or motion. For example, something that's more dense or heavier than the water by volume, like the slinky, will sink or appear to go down.
Thanks, Andrew.
And something that's less dense, like the ping pong ball, will get pushed to the top or float. If I glue the ping pong ball to the top of the slinky so it can be one unit, we can experience a density gradient. The more dense material at the bottom and the less dense at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is being stretched shows that there is a force present when connected to the earth. Again, just want to highlight again, when connected to the earth, again, when I'm holding this, we can see the buoyant effect of the ping pong ball stretching the slinky. Again, the slinky cannot stretch itself, and the ping pong ball cannot push itself up. And the water that's pushing the ping pong ball up cannot push itself either. And the bottle that's pushing the water cannot push itself either. And the wood that's pushing the bottle, in other words, you get the point that it's a motion transfer when it's connected to the earth through me, and all of these. That's why I have to put the zip ties here too as well to make it, to hold it together so that the motion transfers there, So again, when it's connected to the earth, we can see that detect that there's a force present. It can undeniably. If you deny that there's a force present when you're connected to the earth, you're a fucking idiot. No other words to say. But again, reality doesn't lie. The slinky is showing that there's a force present, a buoyant force, of the ping pong ball when connected to the earth. However, in free fall, we're going to see that force completely vanish. However, as soon as I release the bottle into free fall, the buoyant force of the ping pong ball and the weight of the slinky completely vanish along with the density gradient. The slinky is no longer at the bottom and the ping pong ball is no longer at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is not being stretched shows that there's no force present. Acceleration requires a force. No force in free fall equals no acceleration in free fall.
Okay.
So again, if you're a person that claims acceleration in free fall without a force, then again, you're going to need to replicate that claim, recreate that claim in another vector. In other words, accelerate something without a force. Like, that's fucking lunacy. That's literally fucking crazy to believe, Like, the fact people think that you can have an acceleration of something without a force, without something causing it. So they want you to believe that there's acceleration without cause or effects of the acceleration, which will be the displacement. So acceleration without cause and effect. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, literally fucking nuts. That's like, if you actually believe that you're not far from, from being considered a loony, in my opinion, you should probably put in a psychiatric home, because that's a fucking crazy thing to believe, in my opinion, especially once this has been demonstrated and explained.
Falconing, instead of ridiculing it, how about you demonstrate your position?
Yeah.
You're just ridiculing it and
I'm put my email
doing ad hom attacks, saying he's on drugs and keep doing your drugs and keep. How about you stop crying about what you disagree with and prove your position?
There, I put my email in the chat. If you want to send me your best proof, you can do that.
It's weird that they think whining about it, or if they say it enough times, suddenly your position is going to change. The only thing that could change our position is demonstrable physics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, my email is there. If you think you have proof of your, crazy belief of acceleration without a force in free fall or without displacement, then you can send it to me.
Again, and if all you have is a bias, I don't understand what you're doing here. I'm not on Glober's channels. I'm not, because this is obviously demonstrable, but I'm just saying I don't hang out in channels
that you don't agree with,
just to argue with them, or just, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, what are your thoughts on that video? Do you have any opinions?
My thoughts on that is that you're moving it through the electrostatic flow, and it's changing how.
Like, I don't mean to pick on him, damn, he sounded really nervous right there. Like, he sounded really nervous. So kind of funny in a way. Again, nothing personal, but
how it behaves. I mean, that I believe he believes that the Earth is rising at 9.82 meters per second, right? If that
no. So already right there, kind of he's misrepresenting again. So the Earth is not rising at 9.8 meters per second again. The Earth is moving at a constant. Nobody knows the exact speed of the Earth, But that change that we witness in free fall, that 9.8 meters per second, is not an acceleration, it's actually a deceleration rate.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the Earth is not moving up at 9.8 meters per second, the object is decelerating at 9.8 meters per second. That's what's happening.
No one knows the speed the Earth is rising.
No, nobody knows, nobody claims to know, I don't claim to know.
Mhm.
And again, that's irrelevant to know when there's actually a force present or not. Because when there's a force present, we don't need to know the speed or the, of that force. The force will be there if it's there. The air bubble, buoyant, objects will move through the medium if there's a force present. You don't need to know the speed of that to know that, so.
That was the case, wouldn't it have to keep accelerating to create their gravity? And then the Earth, right?
Again, there's a thing called inertia again, matter's resistance to motion. Matter wants to remain motionless. Again, we don't live in a vacuum. So this claim that an object in motion will always stay in motion is with the notion that, that it has to be in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Again, we don't live in a vacuum, obviously. We live in reality. There's laws here that, obviously. So again, matter has inertia. It wants to remain motionless, in this reality. So when there's a force being applied, there's now, because of inertia, there's a resistance to that force. So you don't need to constantly accelerate to have that resistance. Being at a constant, will give you that resistance because matter is always going to be resisting that motion. So again, you don't have to be constantly accelerating because of inertia. If matter didn't have inertia, then yeah, you would always, have to constantly accelerate to have that pressure, that constant pressure. But again, matter has inertia, so that constant resistance to motion is what gives us our constant weight, And again, the Earth doesn't have to be accelerating; it's a constant.
Rising at constantly rising. Does that mean the stars are rising with us? That we live in a dome? The whole thing is rising? Where's it going? What's making it rise? I mean, there's too many questions there. And then if you
again, philosophical questions again, just because we can't answer these philosophical questions, it doesn't mean we can't prove the basic, principles of the effects that we experience here on Earth, especially if we can recreate them.
It's everyone's fallback right there.
Yeah. Again, we can't answer these philosophical questions, so that means we can't know anything. And he's like, well, how do you know the Earth is flat then? If we can't trust anything, it just doesn't make any sense.
Let's take words out of the equation. Let's just go with demonstrable physics. Without words, it's still going to prove that the Earth is rising.
Exactly. Which, again...
No words are needed.
Exactly. Again, the Earth moving, the Earth's motion, again, it can only work from a level surface. Because the Earth can only move in one direction, at the same time. The Earth cannot move up or, and down at the same time. Again, so the surface of the Earth that we live on, it's moving up. So technically it can only be a level surface. It can only be an extended plane, that we live on. If you were on the side of it, then technically you'll be left behind. You won't stick to the Earth, because it's the Earth pushing up against you. That's why, so that's the only logical conclusion. Obviously water showing us that as well. That when connected and when it's here on Earth and at rest, the surface, is always level. It doesn't form a hump. It doesn't. It's not a convex surface. So
you go biblically, the Earth does not move.
Okay. I mean, I'm not even asking about whether the Earth is rising or not, but why do you think that there is no show of buoyancy? Like you can see that the slinky and the ping pong is showing a density gradient, right? Like the heavier material is sinking to the bottom, right? And then the ping pong ball is still floating on top of the water, correct? Right? When you are holding that up. But when William lets go of the bottle, then the slinky and the ping pong ball goes right into the middle. Like split second, soon as he lets go, it goes right into the middle. How would you be able to explain that in your model?
Because the density of the water is now falling, so it doesn't have its weight. It doesn't have its weight going down because it's free falling. So there's no
So is he saying that when you're holding it, the weight of the water going down, so the water being pushed down is pushing the ping pong ball up? Again, same thing with the helium balloon. The globe Earth claims that it's being pulled down. I guess stationary flat earthers too is being pulled down the air, but it's able to push helium up in the opposite direction that the air is moving. So in this case, the ping pong ball is moving up in the opposite direction the water's moving, which again is a direct contradiction of.
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying that the reason things fall is because of density, but then you're saying in free fall density disappears. You're literally saying it disappears.
Mm.
So then how is density responsible for objects going down?
Yeah, if the weight vanishes, apparently.
So he's literally saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
But then he's claiming
that's the cause.
That's the cause.
Yeah.
Buoyancy and density. It's just density goes and it's just
but
like, then it vanishes.
Yeah.
Literally out of his own mouth. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's no, the water is still the same density. I guess that's not the right word, but because it's free falling, it's not having that weight. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm a little confused there. I don't know. So yeah.
No, it just didn't make sense.
So it doesn't have weight, so that's why, I guess.
Because of its weight, it accelerates to the ground. But then in free fall, it doesn't have weight, so it still accelerates.
But he's trying to explain why buoyancy vanished, just because it doesn't have weight.
No, yeah.
So again, he's basically saying that there is no force in free fall, but he still believes in it, that it accelerated down.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And why would it change if it's free falling? The weight.
Yeah. I'll tell you, if I had
Go ahead.
a ball of water, let's pretend I could have a ball of water, and I put it on a scale, it weighs 5 pounds, right? And now if I drop the ball of water in the air, it's no longer 5 pounds because it's free falling. So it doesn't have that weight anymore.
Yeah, because there's no force present in free fall. Again, there's nothing pushing up against it to give it weight. So yeah, you're right. That shows that there's no force, which means there's no acceleration, because if you claim an acceleration, you require a force. So yeah.
Right? The scale, if I dropped it with the scale, it would have no weight. But then when it hit the ground, it would get its weight back when it stops moving.
Well, it would be more than the weight if it actually impacted the ground, right? Because
absolutely.
The weight is the.
No, I'm with you there. When it hits the ground, it'll have an impact, and his also had an impact too. What does he show that when it impacts? But as soon as that water is not free falling anymore, it now has the pressure that it had. It has its weight back, and then you have your buoyancy and density gradient.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get it.
Buoyancy showing you the direction of the force, which is up. I mean, how do you go from that to it's a flow of electrostatics down, and like what? Weird.
It seems pretty simple to me.
Okay. I still ponder about how that is possible myself, but we can move on to another topic. Let's.
All right. Well, that was it for that conversation.
Extremely short-lived.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go check the comments, see if there's any questions. I guess before I do that, I guess we could just give a quick summary of both videos. Apparently, they both claim that density and buoyancy are causes of themselves. I mean, that's what it came down to. I think David Weiss kind of elaborated that electrostatics is actually behind density and buoyancy. It's a weak force, apparently, and density and buoyancy just take care of the rest, apparently. So at the end of the day, if you're claiming downwards acceleration, which they both did, they both claim that the Earth is stationary. So by default, you're claiming a downwards acceleration, just like the globe Earth. So again, the problem is that there is no displacement, there is no cause, there's no force, and there's no effects of acceleration either. So in free fall. So again, if you're claiming acceleration in free fall, you're missing the cause and effect. So again, and if you don't have a practical demonstration to back up that claim, in any other vector, then again, it can be taken serious. So yeah, pretty much the same claims were made from both, kind of to refute the basically the demonstrations that show what's required to have buoyancy. They both went to philosophical questions that can be answered to try and dismiss these questions as well of what's causing the density and buoyancy pressure gradients, which obviously is a weak argument to use.
One ridiculed it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen ridicule, a misrepresenting of 9.8 meters per second, that the Earth has to be rising at that rate, which is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
That 9.8 meters per second measurement is a deceleration rate, not an acceleration. So to try and say that the Earth has to be accelerating at that rate, again, it's complete misrepresenting and muddying the waters, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, you guys heard it from the horse's mouth. We're not putting words in people's mouths. We're just literally highlighting what was said and highlighting the logic,
and sticking to demonstrable physics,
and sticking to the facts that debunk these claims of a stationary flat Earth and their downwards acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's check out the chat. See if there's anything. The air pressure at sea level is proving the motion of the Earth. Well, yeah, air pressure. Air cannot create its own air pressure again. So, the fact that air has pressure here on Earth shows you that there is a force, or in other words, motion. Look at this falconing. After it doesn't accelerate down, it falls at a constant. Like you said, the Earth moves at a constant. It can't be a constant because when I'm holding it and I release it, there's a change. So again, you cannot say a constant is not change. If something is constant, then there is no change. Like right now, it's at rest right now. So it's at a constant. There's a force present, but it's at a constant. When I release it, there's a change now. There's either the object accelerated down or it decelerated from the constant.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you cannot deny that there's a change. And if there's a change, then there's either an acceleration or a deceleration. If you're claiming a constant, you're a fucking idiot. Like, I hate to say it. Again, I'm not trying to call people names, but if you're making these comments and these assertions, that basically are bullshit, then I'm going to have to call it out, Again, are you denying that there's a change? You would have to deny that there's a change when there's obviously a change. So again, claiming that it's a constant or claiming that it's just falling, it's not accelerating, just shows that you're a fucking coward. You're throwing all these little jabs and making these claims, but then when I confront you about your claims, or you basically deny the downwards acceleration because you know that it's bullshit, in my opinion. The people that deny that there is a downwards acceleration because they know that that's bullshit. So you have to hide behind these words like fall.
He's doing it right now.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Let's see if there's anything else. But nobody claims
Falconing, are you gonna start, proving your position? Where are your demonstrations? Do you have anything valid to say, or are you just gonna keep trolling? Because I could easily solve the problem right now. Wasted too much breath on you already.
Yeah, I'm gonna, unless he has something relevant, I'm not even gonna.
Stop the cocaine, boy. I'm in your little head.
When you jump out of a speeding car at 120 miles an hour, do you accelerate forward or decelerate? Knox, obviously, you decelerate. If you're moving at a constant 120 miles an hour and you jumped out of a car going that speed, you're gonna start to decelerate.
Your videos prove my point. The videos definitely don't prove a stationary Earth. Not a single demonstration still to this day for a stationary Earth.
Mm. The speed is a constant. That's what free fall is. Wow, this guy's an idiot.
He can't prove his position or his bias, but how dumb are you? Sorry. Bye, Locksta.
Mhm. Oh my god.
You don't have to be here.
Next time, I'm tired of listening to Levelheaded Willie. I'm really tripping on the same shit without him clear understanding. Oh, you're funny. The Earth is stationary, unmoving, is not going up because some misguided definition. What?
Rewind the video and you can watch it back.
It's not because of some misguided definition. It's demonstrable reality. It's the only cause for buoyancy. Again, I'll leave it off with this for the trolls. If the cause for buoyancy is not a push or motion transfer of push, what is it? What's the cause for buoyancy then, if not motion?
I think Locksta's Falconing Sprout second channel. Suddenly, he's gone quiet.
Dirty pucks. You're onto something, William, bro. Keep going with this. For sure. All right, what's up, Dal? The level of Dunning-Kruger from these trolls is off the scale. No, yeah, completely agree, man. These,
Gotta bring out the crayons.
like, I've literally gotten so many different trolls on my channel with, like, so many different tactics. Like, you have some telling me, like, oh, this is a waste of time. Even if it's true, you're not convincing people.
Purely emotional,
you know.
purely from the bias standpoint.
Now I've been getting a bunch of trolls, again, different accounts out of nowhere saying the same shit. Now I'm getting the trolls that say, oh, we can't prove anything.
Yeah.
Physics is not real. And then it's just the tool that we invented.
The last cop out.
Yeah, and it's because we invented these tools and this language that we're attaching to reality. It can't be trusted. Nothing can be trusted and nothing can be proven. So all of your claims are just assumptions and all this bullshit. Like, literally, they're literally just going to that last resort, which is we can't prove anything, which is fucking pathetic. Because obviously we could. Again, we have technologies. We understand how matter behaves. We can recreate, cars, for example.
I mean, it's no different how Globers dismiss all this as well.
Yeah.
It's
Really.
the same exact way they dismiss it. Once
Really.
they have nothing else to say, they just say like, well, what does it matter anyways? How does it change my personal life? That's the same difference right there.
Exactly. Especially when they say, oh, it doesn't matter if it's constant motion or not. It's like literally when Globers literally say, oh, it doesn't matter if it's flat or not, at the end of the day.
How does it change my life?
So you're just wasting your time anyway. You're still an idiot because you're wasting your time in something that doesn't even matter. And it's like, it's not about the shape of the earth and it's not about the motion of the earth. It's about the truth. Because if you could get tricked to believing something that contradicts your basic physics, for example, then that means you're not thinking straight. That means you're gonna be easily swayed about more complicated things. Again, if you could get swayed and tricked into dismissing your common sense, in favor of an explanation of an expert, because that's what it's about. It's about giving your attention and your common sense away. That's what it's about. It's not about the shape of the earth and it's not about the motion of the earth. It's about understanding basic facts. Again, if you give your attention away and you give your common sense away, then you're going to be easily controlled. So at the end of the day, it's all about control. It's all about controlling your mind because that's how they control your actions. So again, it's not about the shape of the earth. It's not about whether the earth is moving up or not. Again, it's about the truth, objective truth. And reality shows that in order to have density and buoyancy, you need a force. And density and buoyancy reorientate relative to the direction of the force. That's reality. That's not gonna change. And yeah. People can whine all they want, trolls can troll all they want, but the reality is not going to change at the end of the day, So See if there's any other questions. Sure. The trolls are, in my opinion, are desperate at this point. You know, the amount of trolls that I get on my channel, the amount of comments that they leave is just crazy. Like, you know, it just shows that they're desperate. You know, they're literally desperate for this. You know, they don't want this to get out to the public, to the common man. You know, because it's very easy to understand. You know, once you understand this fact, you know, that gravity is not a pulling force and this magical force doesn't actually accelerate anything down, and it's actually the earth that's pushing up against you. Once people understand that simple fact, it's over. It's over. Like, who knows what the fuck's gonna happen? Like, I you know, how people are actually gonna take this, you know, once people start coming together, you know, imagine that. Like, people start using common sense and actually understanding the reality that we've been lied to about the whole reality and how it works, and that we actually, you know, came from something, and, you know, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, you know, and all these things, all these realizations that come after, you know, realizing that we've been lied to about this place. Once people understand that and come together, who knows what's gonna happen, you know? You know, I can only hope that it's only gonna get better. Life is only gonna get better, that's for sure. You know, so again, I can see the desperation of the trolls. I can see it. And again, if they're not agents, I don't see why they wouldn't want a better life. People, you know, having common sense and actually, you know, sharing this place, opposed to people just claiming it for themselves, and, you know, this whole monopolization of the land that we've done. You know, why wouldn't people want true equality? You know, again, talking to the trolls. You know, again, if you're at it, you know, if you're on task, then I get it. You're at it. So that's your job. You know, but for the actual trolls, like, why so much pushback? It doesn't make any sense. This is actually going to make life better. You might be able to move out of your mom's basement, you know? Like, come on, this is going to benefit everybody, man. Come on, like this whole monopolization, this whole economy is literally there to keep us down. And again, people only accept it because they have no common sense. They don't trust their own common sense. Again, they believe objects accelerating free fall. And again, I'm not saying I'm above everybody. I believed that too for 24 years of my life. You know, the whole time I believed in the globe earth, I also believed objects accelerated down, because you can't have a globe earth without that belief. So again, people that believe in the globe earth, by default, they believe objects accelerate down in free fall. So again, it's about understanding, you know, at the end of the day. So.
And no, just to touch on, I know there's a lot of like comments in the comment sections talking about, oh, what's all this arguing? You're creating division, all that stuff, but in reality, we're not the ones arguing. We're just presenting demonstrable physics, and it's everyone that disagrees with reality that's arguing and creating the pushback, and everything they claim we're doing is what they're doing because they're not remaining objective. So it's a little ironic.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is ironic. Again, people trying to tell us that we're causing division when they're the ones literally causing the division by dismissing reality and
rejecting it.
Exactly, by rejecting it and muddying the waters with their beliefs. And you know, so again, it's pretty ironic that that they claim that we're the ones causing division. But at the end of the day, reality is what it is. Again, so how can we be causing division when we're just representing what is? You know, the division comes in when ideas start to be injected into the objective. When you start bringing your beliefs and your, you know, your theories and your, you know, all of that, that's when it starts to cause a division. You know, now you're dividing reality. You know, you're claiming, you know, where you're claiming is reality, but it's not. You know, that's where the division is. You know.
Yeah, true though. It wasn't brought to them with an attack. They just jerked out because they don't like the reality.
Exactly. Yeah, we never came, you know, with this information like, you're not attacking anyone. What the hell? Like, who will we attack anyway? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, when we're showing the cause of these effects, you know, and demonstrating them and showing how they vanish in free fall. Like, how are we attacking anyone when we're literally just showing the demonstrations? You know, so obviously the attacking is with the responses to these demonstrations. That's where the attack is. You know.
Yeah, Amanda too. We don't go to them. That's so true.
Exactly. They're always here. You know, the trolls are the first ones to comment. You know, and it's like it's crazy. You know, yeah, it's gotten out of hand. Obviously, these trolls with their fucking essay fucking responses, their Chat GPT responses, like it's so obvious. Like these fucking trolls. You know, it's so pathetic, so fucking pathetic. Like it's pretty sad. You know.
JC, the only time I've attacked is when I was met with attacks and
blatant dishonesty.
Yes,
No, yeah.
I wear glasses.
No, yeah. Again, once a troll, you know, makes it evident that they're just there to troll,
Yeah.
then they're asking for it
Yeah.
at that point. They're asking, you know, to get, you know, to talk shit to them. They want it, you know, at that point. You know, again, if you're not on task, you know, and you're not at it, then you're literally asking for it. You know,
And I'm the same way. I don't attack first. I don't do any of that first. They attack us, to be quite honest, quite often. You know, but I just, you know, just end up, I guess, for lack of a better term, trolling them back.
Yeah.
But they're like actually trolling them because I have, you know, demonstrable reality on my physics on my side. So.
Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to highlight too, you know how different trolls come with different ways to try to, you know, derail the conversation, right? Another one that they're doing is sea lining, pretending to not get it.
Yeah.
You know, that's one that a lot of people do too. Like that's so pathetic. So it's another tactic that they're using. That oh look, I'm being nice, I'm being so polite, I'm just asking questions. But not only the questions that are asking have been answered, you know, time and time again, multiple times, but they throw little jabs in there, like little ridicule statements, you know. But I'm being nice, you know, right? You know, I'm just asking questions, right?
Again, they attack and then play victim.
Yeah, you answer their questions, you know, and everything. And the next video, they go back asking the same questions again.
Yeah, it's just a never ending.
And it's like after the 5th, 6th, 7th time of asking the same questions, like come on, like eventually, you know, it gets old. You know?
Yeah, that's another thing. You ever see any one of us already just, you know, coming off a little strong? That's probably because it's a known troll.
Yes.
Or again, when you've been doing this for a while, you're able to discern who's actually being honest and who isn't, just by the line of questioning. And if they did deflect or dismiss, you know, it's very simple to tell who's at it and who's actually being honest.
Yeah. Again, and I don't have anything against trolls. I actually think trolls are cool. You know, like nothing. You know, if you're gonna be a troll, fine. You know, the thing is with these excessive trolls, like it is literally like they go to almost every comment, reply to every comment, and just literally just talk a lot of shit at the end of the day, you know.
Just their emotions and
yeah.
So
again, if you troll, again, there's nothing wrong with trolling. That's fine. It's gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
But when it's excessive, you know, that's when it's you know, it gets out of hand, and maybe, you know, you're gonna get banned if you troll, you know, and then especially if your questions have been answered already. If you don't like the answer, that's not my problem. That's a personal problem.
Yeah, but then they go claiming you haven't answered my question, even though you have.
Again, pathetic.
Again, if I didn't agree with something, I wouldn't just be there every video and just commenting about my opinions and feelings. Like, where's your proofs?
Exactly.
Forgetting the main thing is to prove your position.
Yeah. Let me see. Steve H. They constantly attempt sea lining tactic to see you see the same question time and time again on every video, and hand wave dismiss everything. Exactly, Steve. Again, they're using every tactic in the book right now when it comes to dismissing the motion of the earth. I'm seeing hate, I'm seeing ridicule, I'm seeing misrepresenting, I'm seeing sea lining, I'm seeing like you can't prove anything, you know, so you can't be saying that, you know, you're turning people off to this subject, to the flat earth, you're making flat earth, like every tactic you could think of, like that they're using, you know. Again, whether you're trolling deliberately or not, you know, the tactics are there, you know, a lot of pushback, definitely, you know, that's happening right now, you know. Yeah, I agree with that, Knox. Those who get it, will get it, and those who don't, move on. Uh, that's what it comes down to. Again, if you genuinely don't get it, then I mean, honestly, you must be mentally challenged. And I'm not even trying to talk shit. Like if you honestly don't get this, and I get it. Maybe if you just watched a couple of videos and haven't really looked into this, then I get why you haven't got it. That's understandable. I get it. But if once you've been months into this, and you've seen some of my demonstrations, some of the examples that I give, some of the explanations and demonstrations that I show that a child can understand. If you don't get that, then I don't know. You probably drank too much Kool-Aid, growing up. I don't know, but obviously there's something wrong there.
But a point to make is, if you don't get it, what gives you the right to say that this is wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Or that reality's wrong. Because again, it's not our claim.
You don't even get it. How can you then determine that it's incorrect?
How can you dismiss it? In other words, if you admit you don't get it,
like, well, I don't get it, but I also can't dismiss it. I want to keep that's actual honesty.
Yeah, but these people dismiss it, ridicule it, and dismiss it as well. Mm-hmm. Well, at the same time, claim they don't have a position and are just asking questions.
Yeah.
Again, that's another cop out. Oh, I don't make a claim. I don't claim stationary or motion.
But I'm here to question your claims.
Yeah, but I'm here to question your claims and hand wave dismiss them, and just ridicule.
The answer doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Again, you give them the answer to all their questions. Again, whether they like it or not, they're gonna keep asking them. It's just pathetic. Again, that's just another tactic, another desperate attempt to try and dismiss this topic, which is not gonna go nowhere. The cat's out of the bag, and you're gonna have to deal with the facts. You're gonna have to deal with the facts or just keep running, because the reality is not gonna change again.
Falconing, I understand this. I understood this when you made your first YouTube video coming up off Eric Dubay's channel. I have dismissed it. Anything that falls to the earth had to be first raised up. First of all, he had a channel before talking to Eric Dubay, so I'm not sure he's saying he just started his channel off Eric Dubay's video. And again, there goes the same old rubbish she's been commenting in this entire time, which everybody's addressed.
Apparently, picking up an object, you transfer force into it, and then when you release it, that force you somehow transfer to the object now explodes within the object and it pushes it down. Like, what the fuck are you imagining is happening? Like, what the fuck? Like, you're talking about, I pick up an object, okay, I apply a force. Are you saying that force is transferred and absorbed into the object? The object absorbs that force of me picking it up, and then when I release it, somehow that there's an impulse or something that happens with that force that was absorbed by the object that makes it go down? Is that what you're claiming? You're a fucking idiot if that's what you're claiming. Again, nothing personal, but what the fuck? Please explain to me what you think is happening mechanically when you pick up an object and then release it. What is happening mechanically that the object moves or accelerates back down to the earth?
Falconing, you answer the question. What is happening? Don't flip it. You answer it first.
No,
you already know our position.
I mean, you think it should float? No, it shouldn't float. No.
But my point is, he's diverting from having to answer.
Obviously, because he knows it's fucking ridiculous. Like, yeah,
he's not even gonna have words now.
The object absorbs the force when you hold it. He's
saying that the drop tests are about because an apple, for example, doesn't actually go up to the tree first.
What the fuck? Like, I'm trying to comprehend that thing he's stuck on. I'm still kind of like, what the fuck? Oh my god! I picked it up at an angle, but it didn't go back to that way. Why? That's true. If you pick something up at an angle like that and let it go, it doesn't go back to the spot you picked it up from.
Yeah, he was claiming that it goes back
to the original position. What the fuck? In other words, you could pick up an object and then go this way, then turn this way, and then go that way. It doesn't matter where you go; it's gonna fall this way back to the original spot. Like, wow.
And it's nothing to you. It's just poking at the logic here.
Yeah. Wow, pathetic. He returns back to a nasty space. How that way?
Oh my god. There's no way he believes that. There's no. He's at it. He has to
again, trolls they're funny sometimes. Again, he's been a little excessive, but it's still, it's cool to highlight that kind of idiotic logic. It's pretty funny. It's good. It's good to have a laugh sometimes too. So. In other words, synced emotionally.
He's claiming the cause is man-made because we are picking up the bottle and letting it drop. But in nature, an apple doesn't have to be picked up first.
Yeah, exactly. It simply obviously becomes too heavy when it's connected to the tree. Obviously, and the tree's connected to the earth. So there's that motion transfer giving the apple weight. So as it grows, the apple grows again because it's connected to the earth. There's a force present, giving it its weight and the resistance, being inertia again, giving it its weight. The more it grows, the more mass it has. Again, the less that the branch is going to be able to sustain that, that mass, that weight, until again it snaps and then it starts to decelerate.
I didn't say same place. You just don't understand scientific terminology. You said it returns to its original position.
Yeah, your own words. It returns to its original resting place.
Yeah.
So if you have something right here resting on my hand, for example, right, and then I move it this way, you're saying it comes back to its resting place over here. Right? That's retarded. Again, you have to claim a downward acceleration, and you're avoiding that. You're avoiding conceding that because you know it's garbage. So the weight in the object requires you to lift it before it falls. The force already exists the force only exists when connected to the earth. Again, weight is only there when connected to the earth. So yeah, weight requires a force. Weight requires a push, in other words. Again, which is only present when connected to the earth physically, showing you that it's pushing you when connected to it.
True. It only has weight because of the motion in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's rejecting its new location. All right. I think we're gonna end up calling it now. Again, nothing new with the videos we reacted to. Is the same old rhetoric from stationary flat earthers, claiming downwards acceleration without displacement, but at the same time claiming density and buoyancy create themselves, which contradicts, the acceleration without displacement. So again, they're all over the place, just like the globe Earth, again, misrepresenting the facts that, that the force is up. That's the one thing, the only proof you need to debunk the whole heliocentric model. And now stationary flat earthers are on board with that. They're literally defending the one proof that debunks the whole heliocentric model at this point. So if that's not the controlled opposition, I don't know what is. Again, the one proof that debunks the whole model is being defended now by stationary flat earthers. So yeah. Any last words?
No, just covered it.
Yeah, I guess I'll end it by, again, at the end of the day, reality doesn't lie. Matter is just inanimate and it only reacts to, external causes, and they're only subject to cause and effect. So at the end of the day, you don't need to believe man, especially if their claims contradict, what reality is showing you. I guess we'll end it off there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.